Hey, this is Marcus Washington here of MTC Media with another episode of So Long Tobacco Road. And today we're going to focus on the two Sweet 16 games here on Thursday night that have ACC teams: Alabama against North Carolina and Arizona against Clemson. We'll start out with the Tar Heels. UNC is certainly, after the loss in the ACC tournament finals to NC State, has looked more like UNC. And one of the impressive things in the win over Michigan State is one of these games where they started off slow. And I know we've all seen the clips, Hubert Davis, we have to join the fight, so on and so forth. But a lot of it was the ability of that team to keep their composure and trust each other and trust what they do. And then they go on the incredible run in the first half to close out the first half. And, you're down 12-14 the first half. And then next thing you know, at halftime, you are up 9 points. And even Michigan State came out there and they got it to a possession. And again, North Carolina pushed it out. And one of the things I like about what Hubert Davis has done, if you notice this last 4 or 5 games, he has closed games with R.J. Davis and Seth Trimble in the backcourt, which has been interesting watching this develop. The last 4 or 5 games, I think Elliot Cadeau, I don't know if he's hit a wall or teams have made a tremendous adjustment to the way they're playing. Obviously they are playing 2 and 3 and 4 steps off of him, inviting him to take the three-pointer. He hasn't figured out how to use that space against a defender. He will figure that out as he gets older, that he can actually attack that space, especially if he's coming off the screen or coming out there. It's a term called stampeding. There's a lot of times that if he catches and goes instead of catching and ripping square and catch and goes, that's considered a stampede, that he would probably still get 2 feet in the paint and still be effective in either distributing or finishing at the front of the rim. It's just, those are things he's going to learn on how to do it at that level. Obviously, it's different when you're stampeding in high school than if you're stampeding in college, especially on this level. But North Carolina looked a lot like North Carolina. They looked like a team that could make a run. But tonight they face an Alabama team that, if you watch some of the experts when they were doing their brackets, and I use the word experts meaning the guys on TV, the guys on radio, when you listen to them, a lot of the ones who had Carolina coming out of the first weekend, which I think almost all of them did. I did see a couple that had taken Michigan State, had Carolina losing to Alabama because they love how the Crimson Tide matches up with the Tar Heels. And I think a lot of it starts with their best player. I want to get his first name right, Mark Sears. Sears is a 21 and a half point guy, 4 rebounds a game type of guy who, again, can get to the front of the rim. Against Grand Canyon, he had 26 points and 12 rebounds and 6 assists, shot 45.5% from the three-point line. And when you look at his numbers show that he can score a lot of times from all 3 levels. He's a 43.5% three-point shooter. It is the highest of his career. And one of the things that they like to do with Sears is play him along with Estrada. And when you look at Sears and Estrada together, Estrada was great at Hofstra. Saw him several times in person. The guy is a bucket. And this all fits into Nate Oates and what Nate Oates likes to do. And it's one of those things where you want to talk about, you have to recruit the right people for your philosophy. Nate Oates does it so well. He does not mess around with who he is, what he wants to be, what style of play he wants them to play. And it's why they play the way they are. It's NBA concepts. I know a lot of people in college don't want to hear that. Nate Oates even said a lot of the analytics and how they break it down, how they interpret it, and how they apply it is more in an NBA manner, more in an NBA fashion, despite the fact that there's a couple of major differences. One, the shot clock. 2, you don't play quarters, and obviously three to having zone defense, but he tries to make that up on the defensive end with those concepts to be able to play a game that mimics more of a pro style. I know a lot of people say NBA, but more of a pro style, not necessarily FIBA, but kind of an NBA 60%, 70%, maybe FIBA about 30%. And he tries to play that way. And if you look at their offense, they are fourth in the nation in offensive adjusted efficiency. They're 10th in the nation in effective field goal percentage. They're 26th in the nation in offensive rebounding. And they do all of this. Now, they're 101st in the nation in turnover percentage. But one of those things is because of the style. And I know a lot of people are going to like to hear this, and I'm sure coaches don't like to talk about this. But I think there's a certain amount of turnovers that are baked in. And it's the type of turnovers. If Alabama's pushing and a guy drives to the basket, maybe it goes off his foot or his knee or whatever the case may be, it's a turnover. It's a dead ball turnover. And it's a turnover of aggression. Those are the type of turnovers that this team certainly can live with. They're aggressive. We're trying to get downhill because they know as the game goes on, especially if you tire out, they're going to do this. Now you're not going to be in a proper position. And now that turnover where maybe I dribbled it off my foot now turns into a three-point play. And now it might be your big guy or your power forward or your important guard. That might be his fourth foul. And that's what they play for. So they don't mind that. 9th in 2-point percentage, 31st in 3-point percentage. You look at these offensive numbers from Alabama. This is why so many guys thought that this is a bad matchup for North Carolina tonight. And Ken Palm, just to let you know, has this as being an 86-84 game. He has North Carolina winning by 2 points, which basically means anyone can win. Now, Carolina does have some things going in their favor. I do like that this team likes to run, likes to play fast. What differentiates this team, though, is I think they know when to do it. There are times where Carolina, and I saw it against UVA live, there are times where Carolina will say, hey, look, let's go through a couple possessions where we run through our stuff. You know, the Caleb Love, R.J. Davis teams was more of, hey, man, our foot is to the pedal for 40 minutes offensively, not always defensively, offensively to the pedal. And this team now, they choose their spots. Of course, they want to play fast, they want to push up, but playing fast and pushing up are two different things. Because playing fast, at times, I think people think of just going like this, almost like it's glorified open gym. Whereas playing, pace, push up, whatever the case may be, could mean that what I'm doing is I'm pushing up with a little bit of certainty, a little bit of pace. And what I want to do is when I get into my secondary transition, I want to be attacking a defense that's moving, a defense that hasn't set up yet, a defense where if the ball touches both sides of the floor, now you're in a position of weakness because now I'm a triple threat in the sense of I can shoot, I can drive and finish, I can drive and pass as you guys are in your rotation and enforcing rotation. That's why I think that North Carolina needs to do to Alabama tonight. It can't be this because that does play into Alabama's favor. But if they play the way they have played in some of these games where you want to talk about pace, I think they can play at a quicker pace. And now you're attacking Alabama's defense and you're attacking them while they're in rotation. And that's what Carolina's key is tonight. How much can they attack the defense of Alabama when Alabama's defense is in rotation? Whether that's transition, whether it's secondary transition, whether that's in half-court offense, that is going to be the key for Carolina tonight above anything else. Because if they don't do those things, then you're going to see some of the numbers skew. You're going to see Alabama with fast break points. You're going to see Alabama force a lot of turnovers because maybe you're playing too fast. Then you're going to see Alabama because maybe you are trailing so much or you're getting tired or you're not in your rotations. Then you're going to see their rebounding numbers go up. So for Carolina, certainly the key today is, or tonight, because that game is tonight at 9:30 something killing all the East Coasters that want to watch this game. And both teams are East Coast teams, and they're playing the 9-something game. And I understand that it's tough for CBS to get everybody lined up in where they'd like to go, and the game is at 9:35 Eastern, but it's in Los Angeles, 6-something Pacific time. The other game we want to take a look at is Clemson and Arizona. And for Clemson, you've heard me say it all year. The thing I love about Clemson the most is PJ Hall and Ian Shefflin. Those two guys remind me of it's like a modern day two big offense, even though it's not the type of two big offense of when, obviously, when I was growing up and when I was playing in the 80s. So it's a modern day two big offense where PJ Hall is a capable scorer from all three levels. Capable. Is he an electric scorer from all three levels? No. Is he necessarily a dominant scorer from all three levels? No. But what he is a capable scorer from all three levels, which obviously is a weapon that you like. He is 32% from three. You'd like to see that better, but 49% from the floor altogether, 18.5 points. And with Shefflin, he is a 9.8, 9.5 rebound type of guy. But to me, Shefflin's impact goes beyond how many points per game it is, because he could very easily tonight score inside double digits. With him is the ability to ensure that you can stay off of the shooter. So now, even if you try to take Shefflin away, you have PJ Hall. If you try to take PJ Hall away, they can throw it inside. If those two are working, then Joe Girard and Chase Hunter now are two guys who become even better than their numbers. Hunter was huge in their last game. He's averaging 12.7 points a game. And Girard, that everyone knows, because as long as he's been around, he's averaging 15.3. So for Clemson against Arizona, it is really, really important that they establish something inside in some sort of way. Because what Arizona does have inside is Omar Ballo. And Ballo can be a factor. Now, you can get him in foul trouble. But Clemson has to be dedicated on making Ballo work, especially on the defensive end. He can be a good defender at times. At times, he can be a half step, or a bad angle away. Beat that down. Get into Arizona's body, to use a boxing term. Get into their body early on. I think this is one of these games where if Clemson works inside out, which might mean playing a little bit slower, but if they work inside out and kind of hit Arizona with those body blows, that doesn't allow Arizona to get on these runs on offense behind Caleb Love and behind Pelly Larson, two guys who can get a bucket, especially if they're in transition and secondary transition. And again, we talk about attacking rotations and those guys, how they do it. Now, I know Caleb will settle quite a bit. I think Larson can get to where he needs to get to be very, very impactful. And then once they get going, then the other guys get on board with them, whether it's Boswell or Keyshawn Johnson. Those guys will get going. So for Clemson, we talk about pace, and pace seems to be such a discussion here, but we talk about pace. For Clemson to really play at a comfortable pace, this game cannot be too fast, too quick. Not to say that they can't shoot early in the clock. They're going to shoot early in the clock, because that's just how the game is played today. What it does mean is they need to be intelligent when they do it. They need to be efficient when they want those transition threes and Girard's coming, and kind of you get that either ball rotation or he's kind of like dragging behind on purpose. And then you get that little kick, and then he shoots it. Not only do they need to do it smartly, but they need to do it in an efficient manner. And if they can do that, then you're looking at a team that's 103rd in three-point percentage. trust me, Clemson will show better than that because it will be the quality of the threes and not the numbers of the threes. That's why sometimes these rankings can be misleading on KenPom because to me, it comes down to just because of the numbers that we're seeing teams shoot the three in. You got to factor in other things. How much do you touch the paint? How much do you score in the paint? Can you throw it into the paint? And how are you using the three? Are you using it as an efficient component? Are you using it more of a quantitative opponent where you're looking for quantity? Those type of things. And if Clemson can do that and use it intelligently, that will be the way that they will control pace in this game. They're good offensive efficiency. One of the things that bothers me about Clemson, if you're a Clemson fan tonight, one of the things that will worry me about Clemson is they're not the best offensive rebounding team, even though when you look at their roster, you would say, oh, they got to be better than this, right? But they're not that much of a dominant offensive rebounding team. So what they need to do is, if they're not going to dominate the boards offensively, they cannot, under any circumstances, allow Arizona to have what I like to call multiple possessions in a single possession, which is you got to keep them off of the boards. And Arizona is 20th in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. Now, if you're wondering, KenPom has Arizona winning this game 80-74, but both teams tonight, I think, should have almost an equal number of optimism. But I also say both teams have the burden of ensuring. When I mean both teams, I mean North Carolina and Clemson. They have the burden of ensuring that the game is at their pace, because the teams that they're playing, if the game is not at Carolina's pace or Clemson's pace, both teams can be out by the morning. So that is our latest edition, and enjoy the games tonight. I've enjoyed covering the ACC all year. Be sure to follow me on MTC with Mook.com, MTC with Mook on IG, Threads, X, all of them. Have a good day.